We are not only the first, but we are still the only federally chartered digital asset bank in the US. We can do full on-chain, fully segregated cold storage withdrawals in a matter of minutes.
Wow.
And when you do it via API, it can be in a matter of seconds. Our assets and our clients' assets never meet, right?
Yeah.
There's no creditor scenario.
So there's no FTX likelihood. I feel like there's this convergence of TradFi and DeFi going on. Obviously, you guys are at the tip of the sword. You're defining the standards.
Where do I see things going? I think we're already in a midst or like a growth of things like real world assets on chain.
Mm-hmm. What a time to be alive and to be in the finance space.
Seeing a room full of family offices and wealth managers just proves that this space is here to stay and that there are in fact safe places for you to invest your money and to hold your funds.
We just wrapped up the Digital Fusion Summit here at the W in Dallas, Texas. We listened to 4 killer panels, 2 keynote speakers, and one of them is to my right here. We got Joe Medioli, the growth and lead strategy representative at the Anchorage Digital. Hopefully I didn't butcher your title, sir.
You did great, yeah.
Thank you so much. You did great up on stage. And I'd love for you, Joe, if you would be willing and able to echo some of those key discussion points that you mentioned up on stage from the services that you offer at Anchorage Digital. And if you double click on you guys being one of the first regulated charter banks, you're able to hold crypto assets on behalf of your clients. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Anchorage Digital is a fully institutional crypto platform. We were founded in 2017 by 2 security engineers from Docker and Square. And so security is our DNA. And what we provide, again, to institutional clients is custody, settlement, staking, on-chain governance, and trading services.
Okay.
And amidst that entire sort of suite of services and the security architecture we've built, you're right. In the US, we are unique in that we are not only the first, but we are still the only federally chartered digital asset bank in the US. We are regulated by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency as a national trust bank. Why is that important to us? We really believe here in the institutionalization of crypto and providing a safe and secure mechanism for institutional investors of all types, be they crypto native companies and Web3s, venture capitalists, the protocols they support and the foundations they support, all the way up to the wealth management space, to be able to invest in this asset class with safety and security.
Yeah. Being first, so driving down that dark road, it's at night, pitch black, with only being able to see outside of your headlights, because that's really what you guys are doing, being the first. You have nobody to follow behind it. Can you talk about maybe your experience being first? Is
the best part about being first in something like this, and frankly, by still being a unique player, is that not only do we learn an incredible amount from our clients, we learn from our regulators, but we also become the standard for best practice because we hold ourselves up to the standard of our regulators and of our peers in the TradFi space. That is huge. Being a sort of regulatory first company is one of the reasons we've been successful. It's one of the reasons why we have such high client support, and it allows us to set a standard that we think needs to be met globally across the ecosystem. Coming back to security again, one of the unique things about Anchorage is that we do not believe in a trade-off between sort of security and speed, right? That's a very classic trade-off within crypto. We segregate our clients' assets on-chain and at the supervisory books and records level. That means that our private keys, the private keys that belong to our clients, are separate from anything Anchorage owns and any other client at Anchorage. That is a huge benefit. However, we've been able to develop an architecture that allows us to transact at incredibly fast speeds despite that. There's no withdrawal windows. There's no 4, 12, 24-hour withdrawal times. We can do full on-chain, fully segregated cold storage withdrawals in a matter of minutes.
Wow.
And when you do it via API, it can be in a matter of seconds. So that in and of itself is big. But when we zoom out and actually think about the regulatory perimeter, what does that provide? At the federal bank level, we have a unique stance from a bankruptcy remote perspective, right? The federal bankruptcy law, fairly clear. It's been tested. And as a trust bank, our assets and our clients' assets never meet, right?
Yeah.
There's no creditor scenario.
So there's no FTX likelihood.
It's certainly not. Or frankly, issues we've seen with different state regulators where bankruptcy laws are a little bit less tested. That's, we'll call it like worst case scenario stuff. The other piece of this, which is really important, that's where we've really partnered with the regulators and become a leader ourselves, is the anti-money laundering space and sanctions compliance space, where we review and attribute funds coming in so that once funds are in, we've gone through the process of looking at them, looking on chain, looking where they've come from, ensuring to the best of anybody's ability in this space that these assets have good provenance. And that means once they're coming out, we're able to also evidence that as, again, a financial institution. We're travel rule compliant, which is a very difficult thing to do in this space, providing all of the information required to be exactly that. And so we end up being a safe control location for our assets and fundamentally a staging point for our institutions to participate.
I feel like there's this convergence of TradFi and DeFi going on. Obviously, you guys are you're at the tip of the sword. You're defining the standards.
Yeah.
What do you think this market will look like, being that you're at the very front of it, will look like in the short term and long term, if you don't mind giving some type of forward-looking statement?
We're fundamentally a crypto native company, right? And we like to meet our clients where they are with the services that they need, right? So we are regulatory forward, and we have institutions like our bank, like our entities in Singapore that really focus on this regulation. At the same time, we also have self-custodial solutions for the clients that don't have those same requirements, but need a different customer experience. So when we think about where this goes and where the industry goes, we're going to continue to work with our clients, our regulators to move this forward. In terms of DeFi, we already provide staking. It's a foundational element of our bank charter, actually, which is incredibly unique. But we don't think it's going to stop there. Where do I see things going? I think we're already in a midst or like a growth of things like real world assets on chain. We've seen that with Superstate, with Biddle. Tokenized is here tonight. So what I think we're going to see is more of an evolution into that space. And that is yet another area where being a regulatory forward institution is really supportive, because we can hold those securities, we can settle those securities and custody them and really provide the baseline infrastructure for this sort of new chapter in digital assets.
Yeah, for instance, on that Biddle fund, you could play that custodial role.
That's exactly right.
For that particular transaction or product.
Yeah, that's right. Clients that would like to gain access to a tokenized money market fund can do so directly through us, through Securitize, enabling Biddle assets to land within our custody.
What are your thoughts on market participants like Circle, who's also, they've got their own money market fund as well? Do you think that this space is ripe for meteoric growth with the potential adoption of the stablecoin regulations?
It's a great question. Look, Circle has been around for a long time. Yeah. They've really shown what stablecoins can do in this space. We've seen other stablecoin providers coming out like PYUSD. You know, ultimately, one of the benefits of being a custodian is that we get to be agnostic to a certain degree as to the assets that we support, obviously within the realm of risk, compliance, and all of that. Look, stablecoins are a hugely beneficial means of transaction. Our clients use them all the time. They use them for settling transactions. So to me, one of the exciting things about this space is the way in which stablecoins and tokenized money market funds and traditional, we'll call it store of value crypto assets, can now actually interact with each other as a means of transaction.
What a time to be alive and to be in the finance space. Is there any last comments that you'd like to share with the audience? Maybe some key takeaways or anything about Anchorage Digital that you may not have spoken about? I know you did a really great job up on stage.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Look, all I'll say is that I joined Anchorage 2.5 years ago. I'm a real believer in the company and its mission and what we can do for this ecosystem in general. I think my biggest takeaway from tonight is seeing a room full of family offices and wealth managers just proves that this space is here to stay and that there are, in fact, safe places for you to invest your money and to hold your funds. And the more people that do this with safe institutions and proven players, the more we'll lift the industry up together and create opportunities for new growth.
A rising tide raises all ships, so they say. Yeah. Joe, it's been great to see you, sir.
Thank you,
and thank you very much for sponsoring such a wonderful event.
Anytime.
Safe travels home.